All right, let's get into it. Imagine a plague that's sweeping across our farmland. It's totally invisible, completely silent, and by the time you actually see the first sign of sickness, well, it's usually way too late. Now, this isn't science fiction. Every single year, microscopic viruses are just devastating our crops and threatening our food supply. But a new generation of high-tech farmers is fighting back. They're using a revolutionary new toolkit to see the unseen and to stop these plagues right in their tracks. And you've got to understand, the stakes here are incredibly high. Take the citrus tristeza virus, or CTV. I mean, this thing is so destructive that just finding it can lead to entire orchards being wiped out just to stop it from spreading. It has completely changed the citrus industry, and it's just one of thousands of these invisible threats. And if you want to put a number on it, just one single virus, the tomato spotted wilt virus, has caused over $1 billion in crop losses. $1 billion. That's one virus on one type of crop. So when you start to multiply that across all of global agriculture, you really start to see the staggering scale of this invisible war. So that brings us to the big question, right? What if we could give farmers a kind of superpower? The ability to spot a sick plant weeks before any of the usual signs like yellowing leaves or wilting ever show up. Well, that's exactly what this new technology is promising to do. To really get why this is such a game changer, we have to look at how we've been fighting these diseases up until now. And honestly, for a long time, we've been fighting completely in the dark. The old way is just a tough slog. I mean, you've got experts literally walking through endless fields just trying to spot sick plants with their own eyes. If they think they see something, they have to physically cut off a leaf, send it to a lab, and then wait, sometimes for weeks for a test result. It is so slow, it's destructive, it's incredibly labor-intensive, and you know what? It is super easy to miss stuff, especially in those really early stages. And you bet it's expensive. Just look at this. In the Netherlands, that manual process of just looking for potato virus Y costs farmers around 8 million euros every single year. That is a massive cost for a system that only catches the problem after you can already see it. So how do we go from just spotting symptoms to actually seeing the disease itself? Well, the big breakthrough comes from understanding this really fascinating piece of plant biology. When a plant gets sick, it basically gets an invisible fever that we can see if we have the right tools. So the key idea here is something called a spectral signature. Just think of it like a fingerprint, but instead of skin ridges, it's made of light. Every single thing, including every plant leaf, reflects and absorbs light in its own unique pattern. We can measure that pattern and get a specific light fingerprint. Now, here's where it gets really cool. A healthy, thriving plant is like a little factory, right? It's busy with photosynthesis, so it soaks up a ton of red light to power that process. But it strongly reflects a type of light that we can't see with our eyes. It's called near-infrared, or NIR. But when a virus attacks, it gets in there and starts messing up the plant's internal cells. The cell structure starts to break down, and those changes completely alter how that leaf interacts with light. Specifically, a sick plant starts reflecting less of that near-infrared light. And that right there, that's the secret. This change happens long before the leaf turns yellow. It's the very first warning sign. Okay, so we've got this invisible signal. How do we make it useful? We use a really clever formula called NDVI. It takes the amount of that near-infrared light being reflected and compares it to the amount of red light being absorbed. What you get is a single powerful number, basically a health score for the plant. A high NDVI? That's a healthy, happy plant. A dropping NDVI? That's a huge red flag that the plant is in trouble. So let's go back to our comparison. You can see how this new way just completely flips the script. Instead of slow, it's instant, real-time data. Instead of destructive, it's non-destructive. You don't need to touch the plant. It replaces all that backbreaking manual labor with automated analysis. And, most importantly, it shifts from being reactive to proactive. You're detecting the disease before it's even visible. And this tech isn't just one little gadget. It's a whole new toolkit for agriculture. And it works at literally every scale you can imagine, from a satellite looking at an entire country all the way down to a single leaf. So, starting at the very top, we have the eye in the sky. Satellites with these special sensors are constantly scanning the Earth. They can check the health of massive agricultural regions, flagging widespread areas of stress that could signal a major disease outbreak. Then we zoom into the field level with our field scouts. We're talking about drones and even tractors that are kitted out with advanced hyperspectral cameras. They can fly or drive over a field and build this incredibly detailed health map that can pinpoint the exact location of a sick plant, right down to the centimeter. It's precision agriculture in action. And for that final, boots-on-the-ground confirmation, we have the close-up. A farmer can literally walk out with a handheld device, point it at a suspicious-looking leaf, and get an instant health reading right there in the field. It's like a doctor using a thermometer, but for plants. A super-fast diagnosis without ever having to go to a lab. And look, this isn't some far-off future tech. It's being used in the real world right now. From spotting that citrus disease virus in groves using satellites and drones, to finding potato virus Y with cameras on tractors, to identifying a tomato virus on a single leaf. The applications are as diverse as the crops we grow. Now, collecting all this light data is one thing, but making sense of millions of these light fingerprints every second, that requires a seriously powerful brain. And that is where AI comes in. So how does it work? Well, the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, you gather just massive amounts of data, all those light fingerprints from healthy plants and sick plants. Second, human experts go out and label that data. They use high-precision GPS to mark exactly which plants are sick. Third, you feed all that labeled data to a deep learning AI. The model just crunches through it all and learns to recognize the super subtle light fingerprint of a specific disease. And finally, you unleash that trained AI on new scans, and it can automatically spot infected plants with incredible speed and accuracy. And just how accurate is it? Get this. In field experiments, a deep learning model trained on these images was able to detect potato virus Y with 92% precision. 92%. That is a level of accuracy that can absolutely rival and even beat a highly trained human expert, but it can do it across an entire field in a tiny fraction of the time. So we've got this amazing technology that can see invisible diseases with incredible accuracy. But what does all of this really mean? What does it mean for the future of farming and, for all of us? Well, the implications are just profound. So why does this matter so much? Well, first, by catching these diseases early, we prevent those catastrophic crop failures, which help secure our global food supply. It lets farmers intervene surgically. They can remove just one sick plant instead of losing a whole field. This targeted approach means way less pesticide use, which is so much better for the environment. It automates a process that was slow and expensive, saving farmers time and money. And really, it all leads to more sustainable farming, letting us grow more food with fewer resources. And that really brings us to the final thought here. As our world's population keeps growing, the pressure on our farms is only going to get more intense. We need smarter, more efficient, more sustainable ways to grow our food. And in that search, maybe the most powerful tool we'll have is the ability to see a problem before it even begins, to make the invisible visible.